In a remote Waffle House, Sean Windsor
is captured. Bound for
Ann Arbor, the columnist
carries a deadly virus.
Now, I know that some of us have doubts about what we're about to do. We'd be less than human if we didn't. But the fate of the
Red Shovel Network
is in our hands. We dare not refuse this burden. I'm confident that each of you will do his duty. God forgive us.
Your town is being quarantined.
You ass interrogator, the truck
right on my face.
It's gone.
What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Alric?
Hello, my good friends. We are speaking to you live on Facebook from a hermetically sealed bunker here at the Red Shovel Network headquarters, where everything, I've been assured, has been sanitized, which is good. Everything has been sanitized except for the conversation, which is we've got Purell.
Yeah.
We've got
Clorox wipes.
Clorox wipes. So hopefully by the time, if you're downloading this episode, which we also appreciate, you are not, that this little virus hasn't grown to a virulent stage.
Do not kiss the mic, please.
No.
Like you usually do.
No, it's
don't make out with it, man.
It's a phallus, but it's a fallacy that we get carried away with this.
Really?
If you know what I'm saying. And Mark Fellhauer is feeling better. People in his family have now been taking the Zithromax and the...
Way to be fancy, by the way.
Yeah, what?
You can't just say Z-Pack?
Or
Z-Pack?
antibiotic.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're trying to kill an hour here, so I thought I'd drag it out a
Use
little
a longer
bit.
word? Yeah.
And, of course, Sean Windsor is here.
Damn, that's a cold-ass honky.
Sean, thanks for coming. And Joe is bringing this Facebook Live to you. Quick word about Facebook Live. We appreciate you watching the show. Just remember, when you're watching it, you're only getting about half the show. So please download it so you get our great debate, so you get our Geek of the Week, so you get Room 7609, and so you hear back from those of you who've been kind to write to us, rate us, sometimes berate us. But we appreciate any kind of feedback, and we wouldn't be doing Facebook Live if it wasn't for the magic of Mr. Joe, and also for the good people at Northwestern Tech, who are the heating and cooling school in Southfield, and HVAC is all they teach. The program is 10.5 months long. 50% of the training is hands-on, and last year, over 90% of their graduates got jobs in the field. So if you or someone you know is trying to choose your career path, or if you're looking to get out of your dead-end job and learn a skilled trade, check out Northwestern Tech at northwesterntech.edu. A new class starts every 2.5 weeks, so if you missed the last one, you don't have to wait a year. This isn't like going to one of those really expensive, fancy universities. You can get going every 2 weeks. Now, one thing they do have in common with those really fancy, very expensive universities is students can get Pell Grants, they do student loans, and if you're on the GI Bill, you'll qualify for help getting their tuition paid at Northwestern Tech. So most of these folks who graduate, they're getting $40 to $50 grand within the first year. Learn more at northwesterntech.edu.
You can learn how to fix a boiler.
So I flooded a boiler this weekend.
And I know.
But I'm thinking of taking one of these classes.
You can fix your own boiler.
So that's northwesterntech.edu, and the U means you. Get off your ass and get to class at Northwestern Tech. So,
nice
fellas,
motto, by the way.
We didn't really clear that with them.
You just ad-libbed that, did you?
Well,
you're quick on your feet, aren't you?
We're given a certain amount of poetic license. So we're hoping that one passes muster with our generous benefactors. But we're talking about coronavirus, but not really about coronavirus, because I'm sure you're sick of hearing about it out there, or maybe you can't take your eyes off it like Mark with this.
I can't stop
map.
Looking at the Johns Hopkins map and reading everything I can read about it. It's like a real life movie.
Well, you know why that map is so scary?
Why?
Because Johns Hopkins is funded by Michael Bloomberg.
Well, why does that make it scary?
Because now we can't look at science or anything without a political aspect now.
Yeah.
Every single thing that people think about now has got to originate from the Democrats or the Republicans or I guess the Green Party.
Well, isn't that the point of, or one of the points of the movie that you referenced in this opening? Outbreak?
They
were trying to politicize The Donald Sutherland, the bad guy in that movie, right?
Well, he wanted to nuke the town, didn't he?
He did, but he was trying to hold a weapon secret. So
Great guy.
Yeah. I don't remember the plot. I saw that when I was working as a young reporter in New Hampshire. It was such a bad movie when it was over. And I rarely am demonstrative like this, but I threw a half pint of scotch at the screen at the theater.
A bad movie. To me, it's a guilty pleasure, and it's got a great cast.
The worst line in there, and there are many by Dustin Hoffman, is when he says, if this virus spreads, we're going to have a very interesting problem. Very interesting is the best adjective you can come up with.
He's a scientist.
Seems appropriate.
He's a scientist.
He couldn't have said, most efficacious, or there'll be corona-tastic or something. I don't know. I like that Kevin Spacey dies in that movie. He was a very bit player. I always liked Kevin Spacey till we found out he's kind of the
real Kevin
creepy.
Spacey.
Yeah. But yeah, he died. Rene Russo. And the other thing is, I think
Morgan Freeman, please.
The other thing about that movie that makes it so unbelievable is that, you could have brought up any general you wanted. You brought up the white guy. I was going to bring up Morgan Freeman.
No, I'm just listing the cast, right?
And Sutherland's not even American. Now you're shilling for Canadian honkies.
Well,
outrageous.
Honkies.
Outrageous. But I can use the H word because I'm a white guy. But
it's a great word.
I think the only reason Dustin Hoffman actually agreed to do that movie was, first of all, he could look like, his balls were in a vice. That seems to be his favorite thing. And because he could get Rene Russo as the love interest, which is probably the only way that really works.
I watched that. It's pretty amazing.
Aren't we due for a new Contagion movie or new...
Well, we had 28
pandemic?
days, and then we had 28 days later, right?
What's the one where Gwyneth Paltrow started it all?
Is that 56 days?
Oh, Contagion? That's Contagion, right?
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
That's
is it called Contagion?
Is Gwyneth Paltrow in that?
I'm not sure.
She was patient zero in one.
That's Apple's mom, right?
Yeah.
What's her company?
Goop,
right.
Yeah, that's a good thing to be called in an era of a pandemic.
Yeah, especially when you sell
pandemic.
things that go inside a vagina. As she does.
Oh, my God.
Well, she does. It's a fact.
Awkward pause. But I mean, when you look at this thing, we're all worried about this. We just saw that the Ivy League, not only when Mark told me they canceled their tournament, I just assumed, they're not gonna play basketball in front of people. But no, they actually canceled their tournament.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty serious. So people are taking this seriously. But one of the things that I find so fascinating and also so heartbreaking about all this is how everybody is looking at this from a political perspective. And Mark has some interviews that just kind of really drive this point home.
Do you have any concerns about coronavirus here?
No, I do not.
Why not?
Because we're under protection. We're under Psalms 91, and God is our protector.
Any concerns about how the president is handling it, or are you pleased with his response so far?
I'm very pleased with our president's response so far. I think that the media has made a larger thing than what it should be, and I think that they're trying to incite fear and panic in the public, but I think that President Trump will handle it perfectly.
So you don't believe coronavirus exists?
I don't.
So the two people who've been reported to have died from it in Washington State, you don't trust that that's true?
I don't trust anything the Democrats do or say.
So that was put out by the governor of that state. It's been put out by bipartisan lawmakers.
Are they Democrats? Or?
Republicans and Democrats agreeing that there are people who have contracted the virus, two of whom have died so far.
Yeah, I just don't believe it.
I believe this is a valid virus that's spreading around the world, and we've got to do something to protect ourselves first. No, I didn't even want to come to this crowd today.
So I think, first of all, if I was doing that interview, the way I would have done it was, are you worried about the coronavirus? No. And I would say,
coughed right on him.
Cough right in her face and say, now, are you worried about the coronavirus? But this is a professional.
The first person had some valid points. I don't know. Is it overstated in the media?
Well, a lot of the people who are overstating it are now self-quarantining. People like...
I mean in the media.
Well, what do you mean by overstated? Can we say that? What does that mean? Does that mean somebody directly saying, there are more people dying than there actually are?
Is there a fear narrative pushed by the media?
But again, what is that? How so? I mean,
nonstop stories about it.
So I think that
graphics that pop up that say crisis.
Well, we don't know anything about it, right? I mean, so if we have some answers, if the answer is we know exactly what it is, we know exactly what to do about it, we know exactly how to keep you safe from it, and we've got it contained, and then people are still hyping it in the same way that CNN would give us daily updates about that missing jetliner a few years ago, where it's like breaking news,
Malaysia 17,
or
390.
Yeah, we have no news. It looks like they're still missing. So that's crap. That's squeezing the lemon after even the seeds.
But we've been, I guess, and I'm with you.
We don't know what's going on.
I'm with both of you in that sense. I just feel like we should be desensitized to this to some degree. The cable news crawl has been going on for a generation now. It's just our world is what we live in. But I don't think they're doing anything. I don't like it. I'm with y'all, but I don't think they're doing anything differently.
When I see the CDC, the head of whatever is the infectious diseases department come out and say, whatever you do, don't get on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty dire prediction. It's basically going to kill a sector of the travel industry. But these are things, we don't hear pronouncements like that very often from our government. And to me, until we know the extent of this thing, we need people to be aware. I'm glad that at church they're now saying, you may feel that you want to do this, but we're telling you it's okay not to shake hands during the sign of peace. It's okay not to sip the wine. It's okay not to engage with the people next to you, because I think a lot of folks feel like, this is part of why I'm here. And what bothers me more about all this is it's hard to really get to the science and get to the facts and really make some objective decisions, because people like that complete nitwit in the interview think that this is a Democratic conspiracy. And if you want to flip it around, I'm sure there's some Democrats out there who think something else is a Republican conspiracy. Yeah. And I just don't think that's productive. I don't think that's safe.
Well, to what end, too? Does the conspiracy never plays out? Like, what would be the advantage of doing that? To make the government look bad? Because the government, the scientists, that aspect, they've been doing a fairly good job. They're a little behind on test kits.
Yeah, but this is not playing out well for President Trump. So the reaction is, if this is something that makes the president look bad,
is it really, though?
It must be a conspiracy.
Playing out well for him?
Well, he's bragged about the Trump effect on the stock market. The stock market is through the floor.
I don't think his words matter anymore, though. I think people are just so exhausted by him.
But they do matter. And in fact, I saw a story the other day in the Wall Street Journal about the investors absolutely take his words, his tweets in particular. He helped sink the market the other day. There was a story in the Journal about that the investors saw his thread of tweets the other day about the coronavirus, got the impression he had no idea what he was doing, and therefore the federal government had no idea what it was doing, and that helped the run. This is a conservative newspaper talking to big-time investors in New York who are connected to people that invest money all over the globe, and this is a real thing. I'm not saying that of the 7 or 8% that dropped the other day that he did all that himself, but there's a connection there.
I think it's a lot smaller than what people believe it to be. I really do, because you can look at the actual response. You can look at what is being done as opposed to what is being said, and see how the market reacts to that. I mean,
But his people still listen to him, because while other people are canceling these massive get-togethers, he still wants to do big rallies. He still wants to shake hands. And I think if he says, come out and see me, people are going to come out and see me.
Bernie and Biden are doing the same thing, too. I don't understand why they're doing rallies.
Well, so I guess to your question is, are people still listening to Trump? I mean, maybe what happens is, and this kind of brings me back to the larger point, is we'll still listen and believe whatever the people we support say, whether it makes sense, whether there's any basis in fact, or whether other people who may wear a different color on their different color tie says, you really shouldn't do that.
Even aside from coronavirus, I just feel like the guy has tweeted so much that there's such an exhaustion with everything he puts out that it's honestly going in one ear out the other, because if you tweet that much, it just has a less of an effect.
I agree with that for regular folks, but there are, he's affected it with China, right? If he's going to start tweeting about tariffs it matters with a small group of people who have a lot of influence. But beyond
tariffs, yes,
right?
Because he can levy them like that.
Right, but he's control the federal government, at least the arm.
But as far as him saying, hey, the market's going to go up, coronavirus, we're doing a great job. I mean, there's a lot of evidence for people to look at that they can ignore that.
Well, the market's been weird for a long time because when we had a peace deal with North Korea and then they launched a rocket, before the market would have gone through the floor and the market went up. The market does not seem to react to the news in the same way it did. Now, maybe it's starting to ignore the president, but I think the market may be looking at this and saying, this is something that's even beyond Trump's control.
Well, exactly right, and that was the point. That was the point of the Journal piece, by the way. But look at the motivate. If you just want to say, okay, we're motivated by money, the folks that run the South by Southwest Festival in Austin, Texas, which is the biggest sort of tourist moneymaker of that city in that region of the year, they're not going to cancel that because thousands of people depend on those dollars, right? Hotel folks and restaurant folks, and
promoters, the performers, the vendors,
and all of that. And so, for them to cancel that and pull out millions and millions and millions of dollars, they're not just going to do that on a whim.
No, and it's postponed. And it's really when that story hit, it said that South by Southwest is postponing it because of coronavirus. But when you dig deeper, you find out it's because a lot of the vendors and big companies who were sending people out there said, "We're not sending anybody." So it really is more about money, and they're doing the right thing by kicking the can down the road.
But they're talking to scientists at some point. It's like the tennis tournament in Miami or outside of Miami that was canceled a couple of days ago. I can't think of the name of it. But it's a big one though. With all
right.
Federer and Nadal and all those, and Serena Williams. It's a big tournament, and they canceled it.
So that means 1,000 really rich people won't go there.
Well, it's television. I mean, it's a small little television. But again, I believe that these folks aren't going to just throw money away unless they feel like there's some authority, folks in authority who are attached to science.
Exactly.
Are saying
exactly. And is that the president?
No.
Exactly.
Well,
they're going to the scientists.
I feel like he's just yelling at clouds right now.
The business folks are going to the scientists. They're skipping.
I think
politicians, and they should.
I think Pence has done a fairly good job for what he was thrown into, and he's not a scientist, but I don't know. It's a really weird thing to balance. And you see Gavin Newsom, the Democratic governor of California, who said, "Hey, Trump's given us everything we've asked for, and he's promised." So what he says behind closed doors is always different than what he says on Twitter or in a ridiculous
because he wants to make it look like a conspiracy. Because he's politicizing it too, right?
Well, 100%.
So he's accusing Democrats, but he's doing the same thing.
And he also called the Democratic governor of Washington State a snake because he was talking about how bad a problem it is in Washington State. And, of course, Washington State's been hit harder than anybody.
But then Mike Pence said, no, they've actually worked well together with Pence and Inslee. So you have one guy who's really out on an island yelling at the clouds, and everybody else is doing work.
It's
so
like
is it being that politicized anymore?
It's like calling Cuomo today on Twitter, actually, the governor of New York. He called him Fredo.
Yeah, but who cares?
Because Cuomo said he was getting mixed messages from the federal government, which I think is affecting things.
Well, I think there's going to be some mixed messages because we're still trying to get our arms around this. But ultimately, I think for once we're going to be saved from ourselves because the people who think that all this is a media conspiracy and the Vanity Fair reported, and I don't know who their source is. They attribute this to a source close to the White House that Trump wants the Justice Department to open investigations of the media for market manipulation, claiming that the media, which is always out to get Trump, little Trumpy, such a little man. Come on, be a big boy.
Okay,
you can take it. But if this is true, and I'm reluctant to say that this is gospel because we're going on an unnamed source from one publication. But if the response to this is just to constantly attack the people who are raising legitimate concerns, that's a real problem. And I think where we're going to be saved from ourselves here is that while there is an early push to make this a Democratic media conspiracy, now the people who would push that narrative, the people at the CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Committee Conference, the president's new chief of staff, Senator Ted Cruz, whose personality is not infectious but who's worried about infections, are now self-quarantining because they're scared in their fake cowboy boots.
Well, but at least
what's happening.
I'll give them this a little bit of credit. At least they're doing what they should be doing instead of going, I'm not quarantining, and even though I shook someone's hand.
Right, but that's I think some of this is this false narrative that this is some sort of political conspiracy.
Yeah, you can't undermine science and then get brownie points because you're going to hide in a corner.
Because it's moving so fast that even the people who would be out there saying this is a plot are now saying, holy crap, I can't go outside for a little while.
I want to ask you guys this question because you work in the media, you're journalists. In the past with other outbreaks, SARS, MRSA, Zika last year, was there ever a push to say, hey, we need some stories on this? We need more stories on this. Have you ever seen anything like that?
I think every time there's a major public health crisis, one of the first things is the media is where people turn for answers. And we're also the people who are expert at taking all this stuff that comes from these bureaucratic agencies and turning it into English. So when they say something like blah, 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 we can say cough into your elbow,
But has there ever been a push that you feel or have seen or experienced to where they want you to go find stories that aren't maybe that might cause
you mean where they've said, okay, this has got a lot of interest. We'll take every story you got on this because everybody wants it.
I'll give you an example. Going to Costco and seeing people buying a bunch of stuff, which does raise the fear level. And I don't know, it's good video. Does it have much value in presenting a story like that?
It tells you what fellow citizens are thinking.
Okay.
But you also have those same geeks going out and buying water and generators and peanut butter when there's a power outage. So I think there's a human inclination to you can either say plan ahead or you can say to panic, depending on, how you view those things. So I think the media still responds to what's going on, but there's great interest in this. And I know the Free Press did something late last week where it's like a full page with just little digestible bites about, how you should protect yourself. Should you go out? What are the churches doing about it? And I found that to be really helpful.
Newspapers are pretty good about that.
Yeah, they know how to do that. Now, if the CDC tells us exactly what to do and there's a vaccine and they tell us the risk is very low and you still see these stories on the front page or leading newscasts, well, now you're getting a little bit of fear-mongering, but I don't think that's going to happen.
So one is, and it tends to happen more with photos and video, and the 36-year-old in Nebraska being taken into the University of Nebraska hospital in the big bubble.
Yeah.
That was everywhere. And I don't know, does that paint an accurate portrait of the illness? Because what I'm trying to get at is, people want to say there's a conspiracy to make it look worse than it is, and that is the media doing that.
Well, I don't think it's the media who put him in that habit trail.
I don't either.
I mean,
no, it's just a photographer catching a picture, an image.
There's not a news director anywhere going saying that's.
No, there are a couple of paramedics there that don't want to get the virus.
Yeah, I mean
that's all that was.
That's saying that the experts are freaked out by this.
Exactly.
And we happen to catch a picture of it. I don't think anybody said, "Hey, when you pull that guy out of the ambulance, can you put him in something that looks like an old hairdryer?"
Yeah, but there's also the aspect of run that again, run that again, run that one again.
Well, I don't think
there's some irresponsible podcast host talking about it.
That's
guilty as charged, Mr. Fellhauer.
Yeah,
believe me, I will consume it.
Here's how it happens, though.
That sentence you to time served.
That photographer takes that picture and uses. I don't know if that was from the Omaha World Herald or not. I don't know whose photographer that was, or maybe it was a freelancer. I'm not sure. Not that photographers belong to anybody. We were taught that a long time ago.
Or it could have been someone with an iPhone who just saw it and said, "Holy crap!"
That's the first thing I learned at the Free Press. Never say my photographer because it's not. It's you work with the photographer. In any case, they take that photo and they run it for whoever that person's working for, and then it gets picked up.
Yeah,
because everybody wants to run it, not because they're trying to create a conspiracy, because it's a striking, arresting photo.
Well, now maybe what somebody should do is do a follow-up story where experts say, man, they were freaking out in Nebraska. I mean, what the hell? That was an overreaction. I have not seen that story, but I presume if no one's come out and said that was a pretty appropriate response.
I mean, it could have been a couple of overzealous medical workers, I guess. If
that's
what you're saying, Mark?
No, I just mean the rerunning of it, because it might get clicks, it might get eyeballs, which, once again, I don't blame the media for even doing that. I blame the consumer for not knowing how to consume certain things. I mean, you got to serve up what's gonna work. You got to make money.
Yeah, no, I think.
But people see that
dramatic moments resonate with people.
But you were asking about other.
By the way, what a nice picture that is! Look at that.
Other public health care issues.
Yes,
other viruses, and I don't remember this, but I don't remember having a president, Republican or Democrat, who attacked and I'm going to use the word attack because it's what he does. The media. I mean, he tweeted the other day, all day long, about this is fake, that's fake, the fake news. But Bush never did anything like that. We've never had anybody do anything like that, and it's causing some confusion. And your point about him looking at the clouds, I agree with that, Mark. But it's just new. He's different. We've never had anybody behave like this, and now that there's an actual healthcare issue, it's confusing.
It really hit me the other day when I was getting my hair cut. And I love this girl that cuts my hair, and she's self-described as a black female on the queer spectrum, which, couldn't be more polar opposite than a 44-year-old white straight guy.
Right in our demo.
from Berkeley. But I like having, she will talk politics. We don't agree on a lot of stuff, but it's a good conversation. And she actually said, I don't care what he says anymore. It has no effect. It's actually very funny to her. And I feel like that is happening to a lot of people where what he tweets just has zero, from supporters and from people that just loathe the president. It has no effect.
Well, there's some weird things going on with some of his statements where the other day he said that the response to the coronavirus is perfect, just like the letter, just like the phone call. And I had to think about it. I said, wait a minute, he's tying this into Ukraine? That's what we've moved on from that, right? What's going on?
Nobody cares about that but him anymore.
Well, the strange thing is, typically at a time like this,
I don't think most voters care.
You'll have a head of state or an executive say they want to work with the media to say, let me get the word out about this. Like, hey, we don't agree on everything, but media, we need you to help tell people, wash your hands for 20 seconds. If you're elderly, be extra careful around crowds, things like that. But the war with the media is so hot that this opportunity to say, you know what, we can all agree that keeping Americans safe is the most important thing. We've kind of lost that. But I'm hoping that as this progresses and as we find out that while we may self-categorize ourselves by what our party is and what we look like and where we live and who we worship, that nature does not look at us that way. And maybe we can learn from nature. I hate to say that the fact that the coronavirus is so likely to strike any of us, that there's a lesson in there for us, but I think the lesson in there for all of us is whatever you identify with, you're still a human being, and you should watch your ass, because if you think you're exempt, you're not. And I have a little advice here that could save your life.
Ooh, all right.
And maybe science first?
Make you a lot of money.
No more gaslighting?
No more gaslighting.
Science first?
I've never even understood. I can't keep up with the terms. I can't keep up with doxing and gaslighting and everything. It all sounds bad. It sounds like Dutch ovening, which I know is bad. But
that's harmless.
Well, yeah, that's right.
That's a way to keep a marriage fresh. That's all that is.
So if not the sheets, says obviously a repeat offender,
a perpetrator, not a victim.
No, I've been a victim.
Now there's going to be casino gambling.
Survivor.
I am. Yeah, it's like learning to like skunk smell. Sorry to interrupt your podcast, Michael.
I was trying to take us up here, but they keep dragging me down. But they're going to have wagering at the casinos, and I know everybody's is excited about that. But do you really want to die to place that bet? Do you want to go to one of these infection-ridden casinos and place a bet that you'll never live long enough to collect? No. What you want to do is you want to go to MyBookie. March has arrived, and it's time to score big on the nonstop action with MyBookie. MyBookie is the best place for you to cash in on the insane buzzer beaters, huge upsets, and white-knuckle finishes. They offer live betting on every game, bracket challenges, national championship futures, and more. You can bet on almost anything, including the Democratic nomination, the presidential election, or even the name of the next pope, although we hope Pope Francis is going to be here for a little while. Sorry, I just elevated him. I saw him cough the other day, but he seemed to be doing okay. If you're sick and tired of getting the runaround when you ask for a payout, MyBookie pays fast when you win. With decades of experience, great customer service, and hassle-free transactions, why would you bet anywhere else? The answer is you wouldn't. Visit mybookie.ag and use promo code SOUL for a 50% deposit bonus. That's promo code SOUL. Bet with the biggest, win with the best, only at MyBookie. And if you try and set up an account and you have some trouble, call your credit card company or your bank. They will walk you through it. You can set that account up. You can get that 50% bonus, and you can start betting on March Madness right away. Now, we're gonna shift a little bit because I want to look at our big event next Tuesday at the Cadieux Cafe. And one of the people helping make this event possible is our good friends at Altus Beer. I want to talk to you real quick about the original Detroit lager. That's Altus. Some people say it Altest. Some people say it Altus. Why don't you come see us at the Caju Cafe? We can settle this over a nice cold, however you want to pronounce it, Altus beer. They are one of the brands that I remember growing up as a beer that everybody's dad and grandpa and grandma and auntie, the softball playing auntie, they were drinking Altus, and you should too. Altus disappeared. But some of our buddies brought the formula back. They brought the brand back, and it's Altus, but it's a little different because it's Altus with flavor. I always try and make sure I got some in the garage because it's nice and cold out there. Pretty soon I'm going to have to move it inside, but that's good. It doesn't last too long inside because it's a pretty darn good beer. Fun fact about Altus is it only takes 6 of them to make anyone a 10. Think about it. We have a lot of things that have started here in Detroit that went away, but boy, am I glad Altus is back. It's a lager that packs a punch and is seriously smooth and delicious. Go pick up some cans today for yourself and enjoy. Go to altus.beer and find the location nearest you. I promise this beer is insanely good, and you'll be thanking me for the suggestion. And if you go to a bar or a store that doesn't carry Altus, let us know, and we'll let the guys at Altus call them up so you can get that right down the street, just like my man Frank. He picks it up in Brighton. Well done, Frank.
Beautiful.
So
perfect.
Next Tuesday, we are going to be at the Caju Cafe broadcasting live. Sean, we don't know if you're going to be there or not because you may be on the tournament trail.
We're at the whim of the selection committee. Sunday. So the NCAA selection committee, if there's going to be a tournament, by the way.
Yeah, what are the odds that they're going to play to an empty stadium where there's no games?
I think there's a decent chance.
Chance?
That by next week, at least in parts of the country, there might be no fans.
I'm shocked that they haven't made the decision yet.
There's what's the county in California? It's where San Jose is, whatever that county
San Jose
body.
County?
Is it San Jose County?
I don't know. I think it's pronounced San Joe's.
They said no gatherings over, 1,000 people? And it affects Stanford. It affects, I think there's a tournament out there, so it's going to have some effect.
Well, the first one coming up is the Big Ten tournament.
Right.
And, where's the tournament at?
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis has had a case already.
Starts tomorrow.
But, it has been kind of a little less in the Midwest than maybe on the coast, the confirmed amount of cases. But there's some in Indianapolis. I'm just surprised that they're going to go forward with it, which just proves that money is what is the most important thing.
I guess it just depends on how it spreads. A lot can happen in a week. The narrative can change in a week. It could be possible next week for sure that the NCAA would say, okay, we're not going to have any fans. But it's really not up to the NCAA, is it? It's up to the individual governing bodies wherever those tournaments, at those tournament sites, rather.
I don't even know how they make these decisions. I mean, this is unprecedented. I mean, when SARS was out here, they weren't canceling things, and people were really scared about that.
But the way it's transferred is vastly different.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have it and be a carrier with 0 symptoms. Like all those little disease-filled kids that are walking around, because it doesn't affect them. Although today there's a 7-year-old that has had symptoms and has tested positive. And that's the problem with this. They don't know exactly, and they don't want it to mutate.
So should we cancel this thing at the Caju?
No.
We probably should. By the way, the fact that you knew there was a case in Indianapolis.
Yes. I told you, I look at the map all the time.
But he's got that imprinted, right, in his brain.
It's Mike Bloomberg told him that.
He's like a little baby goose, and he sees the mama. The mama's the map, and he knows everything about it.
I get fascinated by stories like this. I don't know why. I waste too much time on it.
Imprinting.
Well, no, this is important. I mean, we all want...
I'm not scared. I'm honestly not scared that it's going to turn into a pandemic.
That's because you're looking at science.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what I'm looking at half the time.
I don't know that we're getting that many answers from science right now. I mean, the scariest thing I heard was, the top egghead in the country saying that if we come up with a vaccine, it won't be ready till next year. I'm like, well, what if I start hacking? Now, on the other hand, one thing that we probably should make sure every story mentions is there are people who get the coronavirus who are okay.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's like a mild case of the flu.
Absolutely.
And there was a mainstream media article the other day where it was a woman wrote a column either in the Washington Post or the New York Times saying, I have the coronavirus and it ain't so bad. So, I mean, this doesn't necessarily kill you. I think the idea is let's make sure that we shut it down. Yeah, and Mark said the thing's mutating, so it's kind of like
2 strands.
Yeah, I mean, if we figure out the one and we...
But to now your point about the number of recoveries, is that reported enough? Or is it still more of the what can happen type stories?
I see it a lot, but I guess it depends on where you're getting your news from.
Well, also, we tend to, in the news, tell you about the things that you want to avoid. You know, we don't tell you no accidents yesterday.
Sure, that's why
nobody
things are news.
Shot.
Yeah.
That's not news, but the notion
the unusual is the news.
Here's what you need to do to protect yourself. Now, it's not like some of the Channel 4, what you need to protect yourself, which always turns out to be washing your hands. Oh, I guess that's pretty good advice now. But I mean, it's always a crisis, and the answer is always wash your hands. So... But I do want to say, if you're going to come...
Can we have the wash your hands story maybe in the middle of the summer, too, so people can be reminded? I just had no idea that people were this lax on washing their hands. And it takes something like this for people to have it beaten into them.
All you have to do is go to a sporting event and watch the nitwit go into the shitter right next to you and then walk out without stopping to wash his hands.
It makes me think of George Carlin's
And then he's like, you want some popcorn? I'm like... you mean some shit corn? No thanks.
Go ahead.
You know what you know that line from George Carlin? I'll start washing my hands after I take a shit when I start using my hands to wipe myself.
I'm just talking about tinkling.
because back he had this whole great routine about our obsession with germs in America, right? And all these cleaning products. And a lot of that's just because we've been advertising. And
of course, he's dead now. Probably because he didn't wash his hands.
Yeah, but he lived to damn near 80.
I think is it from We Are All Diseased, but there's a huge part of it. Yeah.
For sure. And there's some germs
aren't so
truth
bad. But
to that. We have a president who's kind of which is ironic in all this, who's a bit of a germaphobe.
See, that's the problem with this whole thing is people look at it as either everyone's freaking out and they're all going to die, or it doesn't even exist. There just seems to be no rational middle. Just like germaphobes are freaked out by germs all the time, and people that don't mind, wallowing in their own filth. It's like, why can't people be more down the road in everything?
Well,
it's just not where we are, my man.
Whether there's a coronavirus running rampant or not, I just say to my fellow sports fans, if you go to the urinal, wash your hands before you go out on the concourse and try and give the rest of us a high five.
Well, how about this? I
don't want to, by extension, shake for you.
How about to me, as important, please pee in the urinal.
Hey, some of us can't help it.
I'm trying to... Are you guys tired of straddling a puddle when you walk up to a urinal? Why can't... Is it really that hard?
You need the Larry David urinal.
Right.
With the step stool.
If you've ever been in a hockey locker room...
Well, maybe you don't care. You probably pee all over the wall.
No. Usually the scene.
And wash your hands so you're good. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the water's cold and
urine
deep.
sterile.
By the way,
the water's cold and deep. So you use
it's a guy from Arkansas.
You use the urinal at the end.
Yeah,
that's low.
So I go coast to coast, but I rock it the most.
Teach your sons, fathers, please. Aim, improve the aim.
Sure.
Pee in the urinal. Urinate in the urinal. How about that?
That's right. We should put targets.
And then if you want to wash your hands, fine. But I don't want to walk out with sticky shoes. It's got to stop.
We're going to skip the catered portion of this show, mercifully. Speaking of mercy, it appears Mother Nature might just be kind enough to grace us with an early spring. So to celebrate, my friends at Zott, Ford & Holly are launching their spring Zero Cash Due event. That's right, no cash is due at this event. This means you can take a ride to Holly and the hottest sales staff in Oakland County. That's what they tell me. I'm not judging anybody. Will help you take home the fresh fly Ford of your dreams with zero cash out of your pocket. For example, lease a new loaded 2020 Ford Fusion as low as $192 with zero cash due. Plus, this is one of your last chances to get a new Ford Fusion because when they're gone, the Fusions are gone for good. Or how about leasing the all-new 2020 Ford Edge SEL all-wheel drive for as low as $222 with zero cash due. Finally, you can lease a new 2020 Ford 150 Super Crew XLT 4x4 as low as $272. And you guessed it, with zero cash due. Surf their sick deals with massive inventory in dealsatthed.com. Those are good sick deals. And be sure to tell them ML sent you because, folks, we need you to support our sponsors so they continue to support us. They're not running a charity, and we're not either. So if you go see the good people at Zott, you let them know who sent you down the street. So, quick thing on Caju. We're lining up some special guests. We're going to have Devin Skillian is going to be there from Channel 4. He may perform. We don't know. We're gonna try and pin that down. We may have some of our advertisers out there so you can meet, because most of them are pretty cool people. We don't take ads from all the people who want to advertise with us. We're pretty choosy. First of all, we need to believe in the product. And second of all, we need to make sure we're dealing with some decent people. We also don't take slip and fall stuff. We won't take any government ads, because we don't want you to ever question whether or not somebody's whispering in our ear something that might not be on the level. But I also invited my good friend Huel Perkins to come on the show.
And I was excited when you told me you were asking him to come.
Huel was happy to come, but he was told that he couldn't make it.
Who told him?
I think it's the same guy.
So it's
who
not personal.
Told me
it's a
we
work
needed
thing.
To put this show on pause.
Interesting.
So
Huel's not allowed to participate in this podcast or any podcast.
I know how
Not
he
yet.
feels.
Not yet.
Damn that.
Not yet.
That's what I'm told. Not yet.
I
don't know.
That means never.
I don't know if that's like on pause. That kind of
Which
was
meant
like
never.
It's sort of like being sent to Guantanamo, right? Just like, we're gonna have a trial, but it's 10 years and it's 12
What is that?
years and
How does that serve anybody by telling him not to do something?
It doesn't make sense to me, because I know after we started this show a little over a year ago, I had as many or more people coming up to me saying, I really like the podcast, than I had saying, I love your stuff on Fox 2.
Yeah.
I mean, now that doesn't mean they weren't watching it on Fox 2, and we certainly tried to drive people to Fox 2. It just means that people were connecting with this show, and that this is a forum for a new group of audience, a new group of people who probably aren't your traditional sit down and have a Swanson TV dinner at 5 o'clock and watch the news.
Yeah.
So we hope that we'll have Huel on at some point.
I can't believe they told him no.
Because, it seems silly to me, but
maybe this podcast has more power than we thought.
I don't know. Maybe they're afraid of it. Maybe
Exactly.
that's another media
That's what I mean.
conspiracy.
Yeah.
But Huel is the best, and Devin is awesome too. So we're glad to have the man we have, and we hope to get the other fellow on too. And we're inviting some very interesting people who will let you know where they can make it out. You can follow all of this on my Facebook page at ML Elric, at Twitter at Elric, and the Caju Cafe has been pushing it pretty hard. So check out what the Caju Cafe has going on. It's going to be free. We're going to be there with all our swag, T-shirts, hockey jerseys, Kwame Sutras, stickers, and we're looking forward to doing the show and then hanging out with all of you. And we're also going to have some live music in the evening. So St. Patrick's Day, for us, starts after the show's over, but it's going to be going on all day at the Caju. So come out and see us there, my good friends. Quickly, before we get to our great debate, our friends at Hall Financial have a couple questions for our listeners. Are you paying more than 4% on your mortgage? Do you have lingering high-interest rate credit card debt? You may or may not know that right now rates are within fractions of a percentage point of their lows the last 10 years. A smart idea would be to call the company with over 1,000 five-star reviews, including my own, that has recently been averaging 10 days from start to finish on listeners that have applied for a refinance of their mortgage, and that is Hall Financial. It's a simple process, and it's no secret that saving money is smart. You can get started by calling 248-308-5000 or going to davidhallmortgage.com. If you call 248-308-5000, ask for my man Dan Morrison. If you want to check in and see if something else makes sense for you, go to davidhallmortgage.com to get started, or call 248-308-5000 and make sure to tell them that you were sent there by the Soul of Detroit. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1467435.
I won't change my mind on anything, regardless of the facts that are set out before me. I'm dug in, and I'll never change.
Rate nut. Rate 2. Rate nut. Rate 2. Rate nut infinity. Rate 2 infinity plus 1. No.
So this issue of canceling tournaments, canceling events, I personally would hate to see our entire lifestyle disrupted by some fears over this virus that may turn out to be the end of humanity or may just turn out to be a big old hassle. But Sean, if these big games happen, you're going to be there with everybody behind you coughing on you.
In a bubble suit.
And Mark, you're going to be on
I'll
your
be
couch
watching, on my bookie.
with a cold Altus and dialing up a latest prop bet on my bookie.
It's my favorite sporting event of the year.
I think I'll wrap myself in saran wrap.
Unless they cancel it. So, I mean, would you guys be disappointed if they said, hey, you know what? We're going to seed the tournament right now. We're going to play in front of an empty arena, and we're good.
Oh, I think they should absolutely. There should not be fans there. I don't think there should be fans at the NBA. I don't think there should be fans.
Really?
I really don't. At the NHL. First off, those things you can push them back. Can't you just push the NHL and the NBA games and tournaments back, or cancel a few games and just get to the playoffs? I don't know why you couldn't do it with the NCAA too. Why not just? Can't we just put everything on pause to the end of March when it's supposed to get worse, and then maybe start rescheduling them in May?
So I'm very concerned about safety. I'm very concerned about, I guess, particularly my elderly relatives and people like myself who are battling a bug already. But I don't think I'm ready to say shut it down, empty the stadiums. I mean, Sean, are you thinking that you should? I know saran wrap. That's kind of you kind of do that on weekends, anyways. But I mean, are you going to do anything special for?
No, Teresa was out last week, so it didn't. It didn't happen.
That explains the look of shame on her face when she slunk in at 4 PM before you had your nap.
Yeah, the early bird special, so to speak. No, I would be. I don't. It doesn't matter. I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. Obviously, it completely changes everything. The experience for the players.
Yeah.
I think it would probably be even odd for viewers at home to watch and have no background noise. Maybe they could pump it in.
Like watching a Pistons game.
Yeah, exactly. Basically.
So they're already doing that.
Or the
Is that a
WNBA.
precautionary measure?
Yeah. No, exactly. So, I think the game should still happen. It should be left up to the local public health officials. In cahoots with, not cahoots, but using politicians to make the decisions.
So, Mark, you want to push it back.
I want to stop
Sean,
everything.
You want to empty the hall. But LeBron says, if LeBron James, King James.
Oh, are there other LeBrons?
There's Lebron. I think it's a small town in Israel.
Why did I even ask?
But they're not weighing in on this. But if you listen to LeBron, he says, no fans. No games. I'm not playing in front of an empty house.
That's the NBA. I think there's a difference in the NBA and the NCAA a little bit. It's strictly entertainment for the NBA.
With the NBA, all the power is with the players. And the NCAA, it's all with the universities and the coaches.
It is,
those
but
kids will kill to play.
But
LeBron James will go to his gold line pool.
To me, it still needs to be the decision of the local scientists in conjunction with the politicians. Think about Jaws, right? Are they going to close the beach, so to speak? The marine biologists wanted to close the beach.
Should have.
And on the money.
They should have, right?
Yeah.
The cop and the marine biologist wanted to close the beach. The politicians wanted the money.
Why not?
One guy wanted a bigger boat.
He needed a bigger boat.
He needed a bigger boat.
So are we going to close this beach? Is that what's going to happen?
Y'all know me.
We're going to start
Y'all know how
closing
I
the
make my
beaches?
living.
Can we all agree if epidemiologists say start shutting these things down, then they should be shut down?
Yeah, but they'd get pushed back. You don't think they'd get pushed back from the NCAA because they want that money?
Oh, sure. I'm sure the folks at South by Southwest wanted to push back a little bit.
Yeah, but that was once again led by a lot of the vendors and big companies pulling out first.
But we assume they were talking to somebody.
I guess I'm going to settle a great debate by saying that I'm with LeBron. No fans, no games.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
President Bill Clinton, just when we were looking for some leadership from the White House, reveals on a Hulu documentary series on Hillary Clinton, obviously something produced to assuage the great public demand for more information on Hillary Clinton, disclosed that one of the reasons why he had his affair with Monica Lewinsky was because it was pressure release. How do I put this?
He had anxiety.
It relieved his anxiety, and maybe it's his wanxiety that's not in the diagnostic book.
It was his Xanax.
Yes, exactly. So he says, nobody sits down and thinks, I think I'll take a really irresponsible risk. It's bad for my family, bad for my country, bad for the people who work with me. He says he was under enormous pressure.
He was the president.
Referring mainly to a zipper. You feel like you're staggering around. You've been in a 15-round prize fight that was extended to 30 rounds, and here's something that'll take your mind off it for a while. And that's exactly...
Mind you, by the way, it was during the government shutdown, so I don't know how busy he really was at that when it started, not to mention some of the other women before he was even president. I guess anxiety is a lifetime issue.
Yeah, and some of the women who said that they were attacked. So I don't know. It's maybe a little
just
more nuanced.
Weird justification.
Mr. Clinton says everybody's life has pressures and disappointments and terrors, fears of whatever things I did to manage my anxieties for years. Basically means turning a young intern into the world's most famous ashtray. And despoiled dress collector. So, Bill Clinton, might we suggest handball next time? Anyways, for this disclosure, news we could not use, Mr. Clinton, you and your anxiety are going to be co-winners of our Geek of the Week.
Yeah, don't be human.
Are you cool with this? Hey, can somebody get Sean an intern?
Hey, again.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
So this week we're hitting Friday the 13th. And so we often ask you to give us suggestions, give us feedback, positive, negative, whatever, we take it all. And our good friend Rena suggested Pseudo Echo because His Eyes, which is one of their songs, was playing in the credits to Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. Now, Rena says that she's not one of these horror freaks, and I'm not either. So I did a little exploring on Pseudo Echo, and you're not going to hear His Eyes, but you're going to hear something else they did that was never a hit, but I think darn well should have been. Sorry for the strong language.
It's a waste of time looking for clues. The only thing to hope for is that I somehow get a message to you. The days are dark, the time unknown, and how I got here I don't know. Destination unknown. Population zero. Since somebody don't
So Pseudo Echo, you have heard a Pseudo Echo song before, but you just didn't know it. And it really wasn't a Pseudo Echo song. Really, they did a cover in the mid-'80s of Funky Town, which was originally recorded by Lips and was a big hit for them. But Rena kind of got me in this wormhole on Pseudo Echo. They are a great, underappreciated band, exactly what we're looking for in Room 7609. I love the tempo changes. I love the pace of this. This is like a hard driving. And the best part, synthesizers, electronic drums, and if you watch the video, the greatest 80s hair ever. The big kind of fake Paul Young type mohawks, the big crazy bib shirts. I mean, they nail the whole new wave 80s sensibility. Fantastic.
So anybody else in the band go on to other things? Because that tends to be a theme with early new wave bands, is that they make other bands. And
so the lead singer and guitar player, I think, helped produce an album by a band called Chocolate Starfish, which also did not. So that's what he did next. Yeah.
Okay. So no, the answer is no.
Yeah. Well, they've reformed and they are touring, so you may catch Pseudo Echo at the Skinny Tie Bar of your choice. But Pseudo Echo brought to us kind of because of Friday the 13th. So Rena, thank you very much for bringing that. Sean, what's thumbs up, thumbs down? I saw your toe
liked
tapping.
That, actually. I did. I like that.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
Yeah, I thought that was good.
So, Pseudo Echo, thank you very much. Now, we've now gone from the UP for Room 7609 to Down Under, Australia, so we're covering all the bases. We want to hear from you. We want your suggestions. We want your feedback. We want to see you next week. That's Tuesday, St. Patrick's Day, March 17th at the Caju Cafe. Rena, thanks for writing. We've got lots of suggestions to Room 7609. You can make those suggestions at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. You can rate us on iTunes, any podcasting service you like. We appreciate when you subscribe to the podcast so the new episodes pop right up. You can get the latest on the show by following me on Facebook at Elric, on Twitter at Elric. You can get updates, too, from mlsoulofdetroit.com, our website, where you can donate to support the show because we love sponsors, and you can be a sponsor. And we're grateful for everybody who has been giving us a little change that they can spare. And, of course, if you want to buy any of our cool gear, maybe you can't make it out next Tuesday, maybe you can't wait, you can buy it at drewandmikestore.com. Please listen to the other Red Shovel Network shows. That would be No Filter Sports, the No BS News Hour, and the Drew and Mike podcast.
Yeah, please.
You have been listening to the Red Shovel Network. Cyrus, take us out.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
The greatest medical crisis of all time.
We can't stop it.
Begins.
Try to remain calm. Many people are dying and are going to continue to die unless we find
Sean Windsor.
There will be panic the likes of which we have never seen.